I call the honourable member Darian Fenton.
Thank you very much,
Tēnā
Mr.
koe,
Speaker.
Ms. Fenton.
Tēnā koe. I've participated in the debate on this bill in the committee stages and caught up with what it was about. But I do think that my colleagues David Parker and David Clark have outlined very clearly Labor's view of this bill, and that while we're supporting it, we have legitimate concerns and questions that have been asked throughout the process, but also concerns about what is essentially a missed opportunity and a bill that entrenches inequality and unfairness. I wanted to comment on a couple of things that haven't been mentioned in the speeches, Mr. Speaker. First of all, the late amendment that was included during the committee stages of the House about the tax treatment of non-resident foreign fishing crew. Now, I don't have any big problem with that, but surely there are more pressing issues around foreign fishing crew than putting something like this in a tax bill, and not least the damage to our international reputation. And I would be really keen to know from the government if they intend to pass the legislation that they have on the order paper called the Fisheries, Foreign Charter Vessels and Other Matters Amendment Bill, which is supposed to address this appalling abuse. It's appalling abuse that we have seen in our waters. There's a report just been published in the last couple of weeks by Stringer and Simmons around the Shin Yi scandal, one of the fishing vessels in New Zealand where the crew walked off the boat after alleging a range of abuse, sexual and violent assault, restriction of movement, physical and sexual violence, intimidation and threats, retention of their identity documents, so hanging on to their passports, withholding of wages, debt bondage, and abuse of working and living conditions. Now, this article that's been published was originally written as a confidential report for the Department of Labour for the Shin Yi investigation, but the government did nothing other than admit they'd dropped the ball. And I understand the writers offered to take the investigators to Indonesia to facilitate the interviews and gather evidence from the crew. That was declined. So I think in this tax bill, you know, there's a tiny little change for tax treatment of foreign crew, but what we are not dealing with is the unacceptable situation where we have impoverished and destitute workers who have now returned to Indonesia who have still not been paid their wages. And I hope that the government can muster the numbers to get that bill through, and I hope the government, mind you, we're running out of time, but I would have thought it was a priority to get those people their pay. And yes, it would be interesting to hear from the next speaker whether that bill is going to be passed before the election or before the House rises. Mr. Speaker, I've also expressed the Labor Party view that during the committee stages that the National Government is applying inconsistent rules in this legislation. This bill deals with the tax treatment of employee accommodation for workers who are required to work away from home. We support the clarification of these rules. We don't want to see workers disadvantaged. Of course we want to see that happening, but there's inconsistency in that we have another bill, which luckily won't be passed before the election, where workers would lose their meals and rest breaks. Now, it was John Bakes that saved the cup of tea. Thank goodness for John Bakes. He saved it. Yes, and so that bill will not be passed. But I am talking about the inconsistency between this bill and other pieces of legislation. During the committee stages of the bill, the Minister agreed that migrant workers who come to New Zealand and who are provided with temporary accommodation in the Christchurch rebuild would be covered as well. Well, that's good, but the irony, Mr. Speaker, is that many of these workers can't get paid what they're entitled to. They've been brought here by immigration advisors, charging them obscene amounts of money, and had their pay cut when they got here. And there's case after case after case now of migrant workers who've come to Christchurch and who cannot get paid properly. So I think getting a tax relief on their accommodation might be a little bit low down on their list. They're struggling to feed themselves at the moment. The Minister also justified the government's changes to accommodation payments under the RSE scheme. The RSE scheme where we bring in thousands of workers from the Pacific, mostly from poor villages, who come from to New Zealand to harvest our fruit and vegetables. Jonathan Coleman, Immigration Minister, a few years ago, actually cut the entitlements for those workers by making accommodation part of the calculation of the minimum wage instead of on top of it, instead of additional to it, as it was in under Labour's scheme. And he cut their pay. And I mean, how mean can we be? We have an entire industry in primary production that is reliant on poor workers from the Pacific to come and pick our fruit and vegetables and our grapes, yet National thinks it's okay to cut their pay so they don't actually even receive minimum wage. They receive minimum wage including accommodation. It is true. It is true, absolutely. You've got to ask Minister Coleman. And then, as I've mentioned, there's the government's determination to cut meals and rest breaks. And we've said we will, actually John Key's saying he's going to go out there and campaign on those changes. Well, bring it on, I say. It will be, just how lucky can you be? Because I know that Labour will campaign on them as well. And I know what working Kiwis are going to say about those changes. So we're still paying the price in this bill for this government's approach, where it's one rule for the top earners and another one for everyone else. It entrenches the tax changes brought in 2010. They were unfair then, and they're still unfair now, and they've added to growing inequality. The gap in take-home pay between someone on $30,000 a year back in 2010 and someone on $150,000 a year grew by $102 a week for those as a result of those income tax cuts, and just compared to $16.15 for someone on a lower income, if they were lucky. The cut for the higher incomes was not just greater, but proportionately greater. So we've actually broadened and strengthened the inequality, the income inequality. The after-tax income available to someone on $150,000 a year increased by 5.9%. For people on $150,000 a year, Mr. Speaker. And yet, those who are on lower incomes, of course, got nothing like that. Mr. Speaker, there was a whole lot of other things. The top 1% of incomes got 9% of all taxable income and 14% of the tax cut. The top 10% got 34% of taxable income and 42% of the tax cuts. And, of course, then we had the GST bomb. You know, John Key went to the election, the last election, and promised people that he would not increase taxes. He increased GST, and of course, who got hit by that? Who got hit by that? The lowest income earners who have to spend every penny they earn and don't have the luxury of shopping around and choosing. They spend every penny they earn and they're paying more tax than he promised they would have to pay. The bill does nothing to deal with tax fraud, and we've canvassed that. And I think it's very disappointing in this bill that we're not seeing action to really do something about inequality in this country, income inequality and tax inequality. Now, as you've heard my colleague David Clark spell out, Labour has a very positive program for tax change, a fair tax system that includes capital gains tax, and we will stop the tax subsidies to speculators who are just making it impossible for people, young Kiwis, to buy their house. We're going to reform taxation around trusts, and we'll ensure more fairness between those at the top, middle and bottom of the income scale through tax reform. And what's more, we'll substantially change reform tax and simplify it for small business. Now, I don't hear the National Party talking about that. So, Mr. Speaker, this tax bill is a missed opportunity. We could have done so much more.
Good speech. I call the honourable member John Hayes.
Mr. Speaker, as the sun comes up, it also sets, and it's certainly setting on that member and her party.